Hey everybody, this is CJ.
This is Oscar.
And this is Nick.
And today we're doing a little bit of a mini discussion. Weren't able to grab everyone for this one, but we thought we'd discuss one of the hot topics going around comic book fans this week at least, and for a little bit if you're a fan of the team in particular, the Fantastic Four reboot. New details have leaked.
Yeah, like the plot outline and stuff like that. Rumored,
Not 100% positive reactions everywhere, especially to the Doctor Doom news that came out some time ago, and of course the leaked plot details that are alleged this week. Although we have good reason to believe they might be more accurate than not. So let's just dive right in. Oscar, you are a big Doom guy, a big Fantastic Four guy. What are just your thoughts in general on the reboot?
Okay, it seems like Fox is straying so far apart from the original concept of the Fantastic Four, which is basically them being a group of explorers and a family. And they've strayed so far from the initial source material that Stan Lee and Jack Kirby created back in the day that it has almost become a bit unrecognizable, I would say.
It kind of goes back to that Kate Mara quote from months and months ago that might have been like the first red flag for this movie, this reboot, where she was saying essentially, I've never read a comic and I was going to for this, but I was told not to since it's based on nothing from the existing Fantastic Four history. So Trank is definitely forging some new ground. Nick, DC guy that you are.
Yeah, he took it sounds like Trank took a whole Singer approach to this, where he's like, no comics.
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, it actually, that's not a bad analogy, and that means it might actually be more of a Fox directive than a director-oriented thing, because, I mean, they're certainly sort of based on characters and events from the comics, but they're not exactly 100%, adaptations. They're far from it, actually, pretty much as far from it as you can get. So, Nick, I mean, what are your thoughts on this?
I have no clue. I mean, we haven't even seen anything from this movie. We don't have, concept art, a poster, not even, a logo, an official logo, nothing. So, I mean, it could be good, but, who knows?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of easy to look at this on paper and say it looks bad, but, I mean, Trank did wonders with Chronicle. I think, that's definitely the movie that got him off the ground. That's definitely the movie that made him not exactly a household name, but a pretty well-known name in the Hollywood community. So, I mean, that gives me some faith. Trank has had experience with this kind of thing before, teenagers getting powers randomly and the offshoots of that. So, I mean, I think we'll see definitely a character drama here and some character problems that are the focus of the story rather than just sort of the plot that we've seen on paper.
I think Kinberg is writing it too, right?
Yes, I believe so.
So
he's done a lot.
Didn't he do Days of Future Past or something?
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
So Days of Future Past is another controversial one. But I think, a lot of the X-Men movies are, looking back on it. But yeah, so this reboot. I guess we'll start with the Doctor Doom news. Oscar, I know you've got something to say about this, and I know you've said it before in your numerous Fantastic Four videos for the channel, but I guess just for the people, what is your take on Doctor Doom?
I am not a big fan at all.
As it stands here?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it seems like they've almost taken the reputation and the grandeur of the character and just flushed it down the toilet.
I agree.
Yeah, I mean, a computer hacker? Seriously? I mean, in the 616 comics, which the original Doctor Doom came from, a computer hacker is not even worthy to lick Doctor Doom's heels.
Yeah.
At least in Doctor Doom's eyes.
Yeah, I mean, especially the sort of older stories of Doctor Doom really He's just such a dynamic character. He's this guy who actually, and a lot of people don't know, Doctor Doom has magical powers. He's a magic user. He's magically gifted. Nobody would know that because he hates magic, and it's sort of that's just a really interesting contrast and character dynamic that is definitely probably not going to be explored in this one. But he redoes everything through science, so he doesn't have to use his magic. He just recreates it all with technology, and I think that sort of, to me, kind of represents Doom. It's like, okay, he could use magic, but he's not going to because he hates it, so he's going to find another way because Doctor Doom does what he wants, period. And especially in 616, like you mentioned, Doom is ridiculous. Like, he is by far and away probably, I think, I'm going to say he's probably the most iconic 616 villain. And honestly,
definitely.
If they brought him to screen properly, I think he could be arguably the next Loki. I think he would be the next great villain if they managed to actually portray him in the correct light. And that's not saying that they won't, but Nick, what are your thoughts on this so far? The news.
I don't know about the next Loki because you'd have to have him his mask off so all the fangirls could like him and stuff.
Pretty much.
But yeah, I like Doctor Doom. I don't really know a ton about him. All I know is from the movies with Jessica Alba, so I don't care for it. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, he's a hacktivist, so
it's an interesting it's definitely a modern spin on it. And this actually, so far, especially from the leaked plot details, and Oscar, you mentioned this in your video before, it definitely seems to draw a lot from the Ultimate Fantastic Four.
It does really, because in the Ultimate Fantastic Four comic, his name is not Victor Von Doom, it's Victor Van Dam, and he's a fellow research worker at the Baxter Building Academy.
Yeah, I mean, and it's kind of shocking to me, if the leaked plot details are true, and I'll probably link them somewhere in the comments below so you can check it out. It essentially, I think that is just a perfect, it's a slow one, right over the plate. You can easily hit that out of the park as to that sort of relation between the Fantastic Four and Doom, and it doesn't seem like they're going to take that route at all, even though it's set up so perfectly for them, just considering the youth of all the characters. I mean, that's not saying that it's a bad thing, and I actually just really want to take a second, because I'm not, like I said, I'm a fan of Doom, I'm not crazy about this news, but I do see, and I just explained this to the guys, I see a way that they could actually, essentially, not mess Doom up, and just to try and summarize, essentially what they're going to do with Doom in this movie, and I'm calling this now, check back with me when it's released, they're going to essentially have him follow the same sort of character arc as Andrew from Chronicle and realize there's a Trank connection there. And if it's not the exact same, it's going to be very similar, because you look at Andrew, someone who's antisocial, kind of a dork, picked on, not a popular guy, and sort of, like I said, very antisocial, which is the word that's been thrown around a lot for Doom.
Well, I don't know about antisocial, because he's I guess more reserved. Maybe. I
mean, reserved, but I mean, if you watch that movie, he kind of was dragged into doing a lot of the stuff because he didn't want to be in social situations. He was dragged to that party by his friends. But I think, and it might be played up, the antisocial aspect, I think, will be played up with Doom, and then he gets the powers, and you see what it does to him. It's like he previously was probably more intelligent than a lot of people. He was previously, probably in his mind, he was, their equal, but now with these powers, he is both smarter and stronger, and I think that's the route they're going to take with Doom, really. And ideally, they do that, and then at the end of the movie, Doom goes to Latveria, if it exists in this universe, and becomes king. If it doesn't exist in this universe, then I will be very sad. But, I mean, there's just ways, even within the context of the story, it looks like they're setting up that I think they could do this and be successful.
Yeah, I don't know.
But I mean, I wonder where the rivalry, the legendary rivalry between Reed Richards and Dr. Doom is going to come into the film, because that is something that has always been a key factor within their relationship, that there is this bitter rivalry between the two.
True, and I'm not sure. I mean, it's kind of the leaked plot kind of touches on that, where it's like, oh, he's jealous that they have powers and he doesn't, and I was like, but if it's just that, really, like, is it just going to be that or what?
Yeah, exactly. That doesn't really exactly give Doom a valid reason to be angry with them.
Yeah, exactly. It's sort of dumb, honestly, and if it is that, I would be very disappointed in the story. But.
Yeah.
So what's the release date on this, anyways?
It's August 7th. August 7th, 2015.
Okay, so, I mean, clearly we've got a long way to go. We've got 9-ish months, I think. Actually, it's pretty much right exactly at 9 months. So, I mean, just prediction time right now. How do you think this film is going to do?
It'll do amazing. 2 billion.
2 billion?
Everyone can't wait for the Fantastic Four to come back.
Breaks Avatar's record. James Cameron just cries.
Yeah, 2.9 bill.
2.9 bill.
I think he's going to do the exact same amount that Amazing Spider-Man 2 did. I mean, it's not going to do great, but it's going to do enough so that Fox can keep the rights and they can keep, shoving out a sequel to it.
And do you think it'll do the same critically? Like it'll pretty much exactly exemplify Amazing Spider-Man 2, and it'll say, okay, it'll get the same box office, stuff, but it'll be sort of mixed so-so with the critics?
I think so, yeah. It could be. I mean, it depends really on who's watching it. If you're a, comic book fan like we are, we'll probably have some problems with it, but if you're not into the whole comic book thing and, just want to see a movie, then you'll probably enjoy it for what it is.
True. I think it'll be, it's worth noting, I think, the issue with a lot of comic book fans and what they have with Amazing Spider-Man 2 is we said after Amazing Spider-Man, it's like, okay, there's some issues, they can fix it, and then they just didn't. And I think it was just the culmination of 2 movies was just like, what the fuck? And so it's worth noting that if this elicits the same reaction in one movie, that would be, I wouldn't say catastrophic, because I do think based on the box office they'd keep the rights, but it'd be interesting to see how the critics respond to it.
Well,
Nick,
I think TASM 2 had faults other than comic book problems. I think that was just a bad film overall, like pacing-wise and storytelling, and it's all over the place, I think.
Oh, I definitely agree with you. Yeah,
definitely.
I wasn't a fan of. I think I love Jamie Foxx. His character was cringeworthy to me.
Oh,
it was just like, Which, I mean, that actually, I mean, it wasn't bad acting. I think it was just bad writing and directing. Because, I mean, you couldn't tell that was Jamie Foxx. It was unrecognizable. I mean, if you've seen Jamie Foxx in anything else.
Yeah, and too much studio meddling. Studio basically taking control over the project.
Yeah, Avi Arad, man, just let it go, please. But back on the topic of Fantastic Four, Nick, critically, how do you think this movie's going to do?
Probably good, because if people like Chronicle, they're probably going to like this. Sounds
True,
really
actually,
similar.
That's an interesting stance. I think I fall somewhere in between. I think since it's the first movie, I think it's going to get a lot of the same, reaction that Amazing Spider-Man 1 did, and I think it'll kind of be like, okay, they set up some things, so let's see what happens, and then, I mean, they could just run into the same issues that Sony's run into with, Spider-Man, kind of where they're essentially just shitting the bed at this point. It's like, what do we do? Oh, God!
Venom spin-off, Sinister Six spin-off, right here.
Yeah, it would be funny if, this Fantastic Four reboot franchise actually took, the same beats as, the TASM reboot, how, the first film is all, serious and stuff, and the second one's, super, lighthearted, I guess. And
it's over the top. We actually see some of, the 60s Doom come out. It's like, don't touch that. You can't tell me what to do. I run my own country.
If they get to the second Fantastic Four movie.
Yeah, they're scheduled for a sequel.
True.
So,
They're definitely, it definitely, like the way movies go now and the way big ticket franchises like, the Fantastic Four,
Yeah, they're
go, I
planning
think,
their flag years in advance.
essentially, yes, they will, there will be a sequel, whether people want it or not after the first one. I do see where both of you are coming from. I think it'll probably be like, I'm predicting a Rotten Tomatoes score of like maybe like a flat 60. So it's right on
I'm
the edge
thinking
of
like
that.
83% or something.
What?
That was like 80% or something around there.
I'm predicting like a flat. I mean, at least it's not like a 20.
just give it 1%.
1%. It's like that new.
Like 90%, and critics will praise the Doctor Doom changes. And
If they do, I will literally.
they'll be like, it's a
TNT
fresh
will set
reimagining of the
studio on
character.
fire.
I was gonna say like I'd literally like leave the country, but because of the internet, that wouldn't really do anything.
Yeah,
You won't see me for weeks if that happens. Like I'll just disappear. It's like, where did he go? He's on a beach somewhere, drunk. He's been
Me
drinking.
and CJ will immigrate to Latveria. That's canon now. If this movie is so good and everybody praises Doctor Doom, me and CJ will officially immigrate to Latveria.
We'll like invade like.
No, it
actual-
doesn't exist in the Fox universe, though.
We'll invade like Latvia and like rename it. We're in Latveria.
They also have to set up to cross over with their X-Men properties, too, I think.
Actually, that's something really interesting, and I think we might, let's close with a little discussion on this. Do you think they'll cross over with X-Men? There's been some talk of it. On the face of it, Fantastic Four and X-Men cross over probably about as much as any other Marvel franchise does, but in the films, it certainly would be fairly unprecedented. Do you think they would do that?
Yeah, I mean, the X-Men franchise is Fox's biggest superhero franchise, so I don't see why they wouldn't, do a crossover.
Yeah, but, like, it's just, I guess it's gonna be kind of difficult to place where, like, what time period this Fantastic Four reboot will take place, because I think from now Fox is moving forward with the Apocalypse timeline, so that'll be, like, their continuity, so...
True.
I don't know.
It doesn't matter. Wolverine rewrote the timeline anyway, so...
It'll change. We probably might actually want to do a movie or a video at some point later about the casting rumors for X-Men Apocalypse. But really interesting stuff going on there since they're apparently going to be casting a younger Cyclops, Jean Grey. Anyways, I guess that about wraps up the Fantastic Four mini discussion. Total unknown, I think. This is the undiscovered country that we're going into right now. Overall, I'm going to say probably, like, I think we would run the board here, I think, in terms of, like, negative, positive, mixed in our anticipations. I'm not cautiously optimistic, I'm just cautious. I am very on the fence about this one. So any final thoughts, guys?
All hail Lord Doom.
No, Dr. Dumb.
Dr. Dumb?
Yeah.
I like that. That's going to be our hashtag regarding this movie, Dr. Dumb. Thanks, Oscar.
Yeah, you can thank me later by sending over a check.
So, yeah, that's you're trademarking it, so every time we use it, you get like a nickel. Alright.
There's got to be a lot of nickels.
Yeah. So, guys, tell us in the comments below what you think about the Fantastic Four reboot so far. I'm going to, adopt a wait-and-see approach. Josh has kind of convinced me to do that much. Are you guys on the same page? You want to wait?
No, Josh loves it. Remember he made that video defending it?
Well, I think his whole point in that video is he's like, we don't know anything. Although now the leaked plot details are out, who knows? I don't know if he's changed his tune. I'd say, wait until we see a trailer. It honestly could happen any day now, since they finished filming, or they finished, I think, primary film.
Is there a Fox film coming out next year? I don't think there is, right?
That's a good question. So, do you want to wait and see a trailer, guys? Or, no? Are you on the fence? Just in the comments below, whatever you think about the Fox reboot. I urge you, use Dr. Dumb sparingly. We only have so many nickels we can mail to Oscar. We'd have to hit the bank for another role. So, I guess that about wraps it up here from us. Signing off, this is CJ.
This is Oscar.
And this is Nick.
And we'll see you next time.
Take care.